Welcome to the Porsche Club Insider, your one stop for all things Porsche and PCA. Here's your host, Vu Nguyen, and the Insider crew.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 55. I'm at the table with Manny Damon, Damon Lowney, and Robert Forsyth is always in the background making all this work. Man, it's like a spring-like day we're going to have today. 60 degrees, I think?
That's something like cool. That.
Well, coming back
Cloudy.
from Florida was 85. This is pretty damn chilly.
Don't rub it in. Don't rub it in. I'm excited that I could possibly wash my car.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get some of the housekeeping stuff. If you enjoy the episode, please like, comment, and subscribe. And I would like to say thank you to those that commented last time. It's very cool to hear, Craig S. His inspirational car was the Smokey and the Bandit Trans Am. That's one of my favorite cars from back in the day. Lance Johnson wrote in talking about a Guards Red 944.
I wonder at what point, how depressing was it when you found out how little horsepower
that Trans Am had?
Trans Am actually had. Because when you were watching the movie, you thought, this thing has hundreds and maybe 500, 600
it's like
horsepower, like a dragster.
I think it was like 175 horsepower.
Yeah. I assume anything made by a U.S. manufacturer from 1974 or 5 till about, 85 is going to be less than 200.
So here's my question is, in those scenes where he does burnouts galore and goes racing down the highway, was that truly just the 175 horsepower from that? I forget. What was like some monstrous
you
like
mean Hollywood could have lied to us?
No, but I mean, you still need
put a different soundtrack.
But they still need some
Shift
kind of motor.
Gears.
They need some kind of motor in there.
So was it a one tire burnout or a two tire fire? What do they call one tire fire, two tire fire?
Oh gosh,
because I don't think those Trans Ams came with limited slip differentials either.
I think they were one tire burnouts.
Were they?
I think.
Yeah. So maybe
anyone that's listening, if you guys know, let us know. But still, it was like Smokey and the Bandit. That was cool, and he was jumping over rivers and that was cool. And the whole CB scene. Did you ever have a handle for a CB, Manny?
No, we used CBs when we caravanned.
I know, but did you guys didn't have a handle?
No.
Oh,
my dad had one in his old Blazer, but I never used it.
I have a handle. My handle's Great Ghost.
Oh gosh. Not Sivu play.
No, because Great Ghost.
You said it was egg roll.
Whoa!
Is that what you told me?
No, that was my. All right, so
that's his PS4 name.
So in high school, I played lacrosse and I played attack, and it didn't bother me, but it was. Actually, I thought it was kind of cool.
You played lacrosse?
I played lacrosse. I was attack, and
field hockey. But go ahead.
I had this signature move where I would pick and roll and shoot, right? Mm-hmm. And now that I think back, it's funny. But then it was like cool, like when it was my time to do that, and the coach would, say, do that move instead of saying do that move. The whole team on the sideline would just yell egg roll.
Wow. Nice.
They would yell egg roll, which signaled, okay, pick, roll, shoot. And
yep.
It worked.
That wasn't your handle or nickname.
No, that was my move.
Okay,
that was my move in lacrosse, yes. It's a very, very different thing. Let's see. Ian talked about time with his dad watching Indy 500, which is cool. Remember how I said, the reach of our podcast is kind of cool? Michael Gaffney from Brussels wrote in saying he's got our back listening to us every Monday out there. Nice. So that's cool. Another Trans Am, an F-body from Renthusiast. Gurney Eagle, like you, Manny, had slot cars, and that was his inspiration. So a lot of cool comments. Thank you so much for those of you that took the time to do that. We love seeing it. And again, like, comment, and subscribe. Now, to the important part of the show is the last time we recorded, we were a little disappointed.
Yep.
But then a few hours later, it was like Christmas because the FedEx man arrived.
Yeah, every diesel truck that we heard, we looked out the window hoping that it was FedEx.
Now, Brent, I have to say, we were so happy that you were sending us Kringles, but I didn't realize you were sending us boxes of Kringles. And let me tell you, Brent sent us every flavor under the moon, and they were amazing. I have to say, I like most people, I didn't read the instructions initially, so I just
Yeah, we ate them cold.
We ate them cold. But that gave us two experiences. We ate them cold initially, and then we ate them where we warmed them up for like 10 seconds in the microwave. And warming them up is definitely the way to go, but they were delicious.
And I was surprised this morning. I just happened to look, somebody opened the refrigerator, and I caught the box, and I'm like, oh my God, is that the Kringle box? They're sold here. And they said, yeah, I think there's some, and there was a one whole Kringle.
And Manny's literally eating one right now.
Yeah, because I literally ate mine, and then I had to catch a plane like 10 minutes later down to Florida. So this was a nice surprise when I came back.
Yeah, so there were so many, and like mini desserts, you really shouldn't have, a huge portion. There were some flavors that were like, man, you can only have like a little slice of it, like that turtle slice with the chocolate and caramel.
I had strawberry. I don't eat a lot of sweets during the day or whatever, but the strawberry one was very good.
So was that your favorite? Was that your favorite?
It's the only one I had.
Only one you had?
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite? Which flavor, Manny?
Yes.
All of them?
Yeah, right.
Manny loves all flavors.
No, I just tried the strawberry and the cherry.
Strawberry and cherry?
Yeah.
Mine, by far, clear winner was the almond. So the almond pastry with the almond paste. So, man,
Nice.
delicious.
Yep.
Thank you, Brent. I appreciate
you.
it. And then there was someone else online heard that we didn't get it, and they were saying they gave us another date that another
shipment?
Another shipment of Kringles is coming.
Wow.
So we'll enjoy it if you do
yeah.
send it, but it's certainly not necessary. Thank you so much for
The
the
office
offering.
was very happy.
Oh yeah, the entire office enjoyed that, Brent. Thank you so much. All right, let's see. Let's talk about things we did since our last call. Are you guys familiar with the jingle being in the DC? Damon, you won't know because you're a transplant, but Manny being here. Do you remember this jingle? And I'm going to try to sing it.
Uh-oh.
This might be the highlight of the show. Go ahead.
Your job's your credit. Your job's your credit. Your job's your credit. Do you remember that?
No.
Oh, yeah.
So it was a genius development of the Bassam family, who started a used car business. The father, he gathered a couple bucks. I think he was like a busboy or something in DC, and managed to get $50 or something like that. And then he heard that there was this place that was accepting donations of cars, but they needed to be fixed in order for them to, I guess, sell them and get tax deductions. And if they weren't, they could just sell them as is. And so his father would buy these cars for like $50, $100, fix them himself, and then turn around and sell them for like $300.
Wow.
So from that, humble beginning, now they have a whole chain of retail dealerships, used cars. I think their cars are like, maybe initially they were like 2-year-old cars or 3-year-old cars, but now with the inventory levels that they are for used cars, I think they sell it as old as 4-year-old cars. But basically, they're buying them, they're cleaning them up, doing all the service for them, and putting them out for sale. And it's like kind of selling
They're used car lot.
Used car lot. And their dealerships don't service them or anything like that. It's just like, they have factory warranties, and because they're so new.
Yep.
So anyways, so the family has done really well for themselves. They have like a whole campus out in Sterling, Virginia. And the son, Joel, who's now, I think, I don't know his title right, but I think he's like president or president and CEO. He's now running the business. Super nice guy. And reached out to us and said, hey, I'm a huge Porsche fan. We have facilities. We would love to do things with the regions and national. Just kind of basically opened his doors to us. So I took Bogdan down to Sterling. It was about an hour from HQ here. And wasn't exactly sure what we were going to see, but we figured, why not? And we went down there, and it was a very, very cool collection. At least a dozen more modern. Probably the oldest car was a '87 930, which was in the family for a while. But he had like 3 Speedsters, GT3 RS, 993 Turbo. They also had muscle cars and everything. So long story short, super cool visit. We did a reel with a 996 GT3. We did a couple, lots of imagery and stock footage for Bogdan to use in the future, and I'm sure we'll do more. And the facility's so nice, and it's the campus is huge that certainly I hope that either Chesapeake or Potomac region might take advantage and go visit them, because super nice people, and yeah, it was pretty cool.
So is there any rhyme or reason to this collection? Anything that
you know, they're pretty humble in the sense of like why and how they collect. I mean, these are cars that they just love. They all run. They're all ready to run. You know, you could tell like he was not buying these purely for investment. It was like, I like these cars, I'm going to buy them. In fact, he's looking forward to participating in PCA to learn more about the cars. Joel has been following PCA for I don't know how many years, but you know, he's seen a lot of our videos, he listens to our podcasts. But guess how, when he became a member of PCA, like he didn't realize that he wasn't a member, because his dad was kind of into it pretty heavy, so he just kind of assumed it. But he's only a 1 month member.
Oh, wow.
And talking about like jumping into the deep end and willing to do anything. And as you can imagine, with the business size of theirs, they have a lot of IT resources, marketing, and blah, 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 that he would love to help PCA with, which was pretty
nice.
cool. Yeah, really cool stuff.
I see some cars that I would love, probably at least 5 or 10 that I'd love to do some reviews on.
Well, we can literally plan for a day or 2 days to go down there.
Oh, that'd be great.
And I told Joel, like, I want to go down there. This was just a preview going down there. I want to go down there with a plan. So from the photos, you know what cars he has. Yeah. So we here can sit down and say, okay, we want to do this with the 930.
Are you looking at what your car should have?
A turbo? So funny. So Manny saw a shot of their family's turbo, and that's just not any turbo. That is a heavily massaged turbo with some serious power, blow-off valves, and yeah. So anyways, and it has all, you know, he's probably the largest collector, and this is going to be the funny thing, and kudos to Porsche Classic for making the classic radios. He's probably the largest collection of classic radio owners, because he loves music, and every single classic Porsche in there has the new classic radio.
Oh my!
So I looked in there. Yeah, there's also this one thing I saw. They had a 993 exclusive interior trim that was full carbon, but it had a center console that I had never seen before, and it looks very factory. I wonder if that's an exclusive. For those of you that are watching on YouTube, take a look at that center console. I've never seen that kind of console in a 993, but it looks very factory. So I wonder if that's an exclusive option.
Something supposed to be in the center of that console? Doesn't look like a storage compartment.
I think it is.
It looks like something slid into there. Look how it's unfinished.
Maybe.
Yeah, I can see the foam.
You know, maybe it was, I don't know, part of the stereo back in the day. Maybe an equalizer or something. I don't know.
Yeah, because usually the ones I've seen with phones,
that's on the side.
Phone's mounted on the side.
Right.
It should be.
Have you ever seen that?
I've seen like the shape of that, but not with that center thing throwing me off.
Oh, really? It's
very well done. If it's not factory,
it's really well done.
It's very well done.
Yeah, it was a nice car. So
and it was definitely done when the car was built, because no one in their right mind would put cassette holders. Modern times.
Period. Correct.
Yeah, well, what's funny is that's the perfect place. My Cayman has like a little cubby like that, and looks kind of like that cubby. That's where you put your wallet, where you put your cell phone.
It's finished inside. It's plastic. Yeah. Can you see the foam in there?
No, I think that's like velvet lined. Not velvet, but you know, it's like that soft touch.
It just seems very.
See, that's where I put my phone in my wallet.
So, anyways, there's tons of stuff there for us to film and take advantage of. So, like I said, we'll sit around the table and figure out a game plan and go down there, and Joel will give us the keys to the kingdom and do what we want. So, all right, let's see, Damon, how about you? What's been going on?
Not a lot of car stuff. No real update on the Cayman. I've just been not focusing on it, and so that front main seal is still not pulled out, and I might have to modify the tools that I bought I just don't quite have the leverage. So it's
really,
I just haven't wanted to look at the car. I haven't wanted to work on it, because I'm thinking if worst comes to worst, I have to drop the engine, which is fine. It just, that cuts into the autocross season and all that. So we'll see how that goes. Yeah, so a little bit disappointed, but I've been putting my time towards. I have a PS3 60 gig from '06 that I got working again, so I've been playing some PS3 games. Half-Life. I don't know if you two played that game back in the day.
I am the least gamer. Yeah.
Yeah, no. So I've been enjoying that. PS3 60 gig. It's the best version.
Is
so.
Half-Life like Sims?
No, it's a first-person shooter that came out in 1998 that was revolutionary at the time, and a lot of first-person shooters since then were inspired by Half-Life. So, yeah,
y'all
I
are
love
speaking
that
Greek
system.
to me. I have no idea what you're
Yes,
talking
hopefully some people realize a
There's no
60 gig
scenarios where
PS3.
this person comes into an office with about 18 people, right?
about. Manny, why you gotta go dark?
No. It's just an awesome. Go look it up. It's a fun game. But that's what I've been up to. Not a lot of car stuff, but hopefully this weekend, I'm gonna go out in the better weather and try and pull that seal out, because once it's out, it should be pretty easy to get back in.
Now, you have your tires already for this year?
Yep. Have my tires, everything set to go, and really just wish I just left that seal in there and let it leak a little bit more before I tried to address it. But it's the way it goes.
So I haven't moved a number of my cars since like last November. But Loanne, I take her to the airport on Friday, I think. She's going to see the Miami Open. So it's single VU this weekend, meaning I'm going to play in the garage.
Nice.
All weekend. Try to get some of these things started and fired up. Now, for those of you that have cars sitting on batteries over the winter, I found this out. So I took my Fox Body Mustang out for a drive the other day. And when I started it in the garage, fired up no problem, went to wherever I went to, and then I noticed that it was kind of weak when it fired up. So I brought it home and I put a battery tester on it, and it showed, it was like needs to be replaced is what the little tester showed. But what was interesting is because I had it on a tender, when I left, the battery was 100%, but it just can't hold hold the charge for a long time. So I have to put a new battery in it. So just be careful if you're not sure of the condition of your battery. I have one of those little testers. You just put on the terminals and you put in how many cold cranking amps there are, and it just runs a little test, and it tests not only your battery but can test your alternator, just because you don't want to find out that you've got a bad battery when you're a long way
test
from
it
home.
when you take it off the tender, but then maybe wait a day
Yeah.
to just make sure.
Well, I didn't even have to wait a day. Like the system knows, after I drove it, that the battery's holding capacity was just like at 45%.
Yeah.
What kind of battery are you going to get?
That's the thing, is there are no good batteries anymore. There are no good batteries. Like back in the day, I would buy a diehard battery and it'd last like 5 years. The battery that's in the Mustang is a diehard battery that I got from AutoZone, and I don't even think it's like 3 years. And I bought.
Are you buying a 36-month battery and complaining that it's not lasting 5 years?
Yeah, but I used to buy that same 36-month battery, and it would last 5 years. And I didn't. And back in the day, I wouldn't even put it on a tender and stuff.
Yeah.
So I think batteries are just junk.
I feel like you're either buying a really not great battery or you're spending an insane amount of money for the best, and there's just not a lot in between.
Well, here's the thing: like my Cayenne battery, when it may have been replaced when I got my car. So I got my car 3 years. It was out of a lease program, and so maybe it was replaced. But from the day that I bought my Cayenne to the day I replaced that first Porsche battery, literally 8 years. 8 years out of a battery.
Yeah.
And of course, what did VU do when it went time to change that battery? I put in just
But weren't you driving that car almost daily at that point? You drove it daily for a while.
Maybe.
I think that probably extends the life of the battery too.
Yeah, that's true. But I went cheap and got some whatever AGM battery and put it in, and it lasted like 3 years. And then I went cheap again, and it lasted because I wasn't sure how long I'm going to keep it, so I went with another cheap. So, but this time, because it is that battery in the Cayenne is also going bad. So this time I'm gonna get an OEM battery.
Yeah. So you're gonna keep it at least for a while.
I'm gonna keep it. I'm
Yeah.
gonna keep it.
Yeah.
I bought for my riding lawnmower, it needed a new battery, and I read in one of the lawn mowing forums that they said just get a Walmart, just plan on getting one every year, because obviously their lawnmower sits for 4 months out of the year, 5 months out of the year, And so I said, yeah, what the hell? It was like $19.99.
I guess you can't complain about that.
Yeah, so I said $20, and now it's entering its third year. So
Really?
if it cranks over.
You definitely got your money's worth. But have you bought a car battery recently that you've been happy with? That's not like an OEM battery? Or
If I
anyone
get
in your
If
family?
I get 3 years out of it, I'm happy.
Okay.
I think my Golf actually is still on its original battery, and I'm almost done paying it off, and that's 6 years. So 6 years in the same battery.
That's amazing. Well, the flip side to that, though, my sister's Tiguan, which is about the same age as your car, you know how long her battery lasted? 2 years.
Yeah.
2 years.
My car base Golf almost nothing in it. I'm sure a Tiguan has more
It's not
electronics.
That fancy. It's not that fancy.
Not that fancy. Oh, weird.
So, anyways, when I went and got the new battery for my sister, I asked the guy at the shelf. I was like, "Is it possible that a new car battery only lasted 2 years?" He's like, "Oh, we sell batteries all day long, all day long. They just don't last."
Sounds
anymore.
like battery companies have figured out how to not give you that extra 2 years past the warranty, right?
I mean, I guess
It's going to last 36 months, and it won't last a month longer.
I guess.
Something like that.
To me, it boggles my mind with all this technology, even electric cars.
Yeah.
They rely on these 12 volt,
Sure.
lead cell batteries. A lot of them.
Yeah.
It's like the battery technology hasn't kept up with the car.
Yeah.
Yes, they have higher end batteries. We go to SEMA, we see all this,
Yeah.
but I bet you about 75% at least is still the lead cell battery is the kind that basically rusts from the inside, and as soon as you have a plate go bad, hopefully you're not stuck in the middle of nowhere because it doesn't give you much warning, or if it does, you say, yeah, it's a little bit weak, but it'll get charged up when I get on the road.
All right. So, anyways, that was a little tip for you. Those of you that have your car sitting on battery tenders, just double check the battery too, because just because it's got a full charge when you left the garage after taking off the tender doesn't necessarily mean you have a good battery. All right. Now, the one that I'm most jealous of is Manny, because he worked hard, but he had.
I was going to say, don't be super jealous.
Yeah, I know you work. We always work hard when we're at events, but Sebring, tell us about it.
So Sebring is they call it Super Sebring. It's more than just the 12 hours now. It's actually the WEC race, which is on Friday, is 1,000 miles or 8 hours. They came nowhere. They weren't going to hit 1,000 miles, so they hit the 8-hour mark. And here was where it gets confusing. I'll back up a little bit. So the flight down, this is pretty funny. I luck out and I get the exit row, which
nice.
is first class in Southwest for people
Absolutely.
that fly Southwest. Get the window seat, which is my preferred seat. And it's the 737 MAX, I think. So it's got like 2 exit rows. And I can hear, and so, when you sit down, the flight attendant always leans in and says, you realize you're sitting in the exit row. Will you be able to assist in event of emergency? And you say, yes, of course. The girl behind me says, well, what does that mean, assist?
Oh, no.
And he's like, well, you have to agree to assist the passengers to get off. And you have to open the door. She's like, how do I open the door?
Oh, no.
And he's like, well, if you read the instructions, but it's very easy. You just pull down. And she must have gone to reach. He goes, no, not right now. Not right now.
Not
Oh
right.
my gosh.
So he goes, you pull down, and the door will pop off, and then you can help people get out of the plane. She's like, can you repeat that again to me? So
Oh, my
I want
gosh.
to understand this. And he's like,
Just say yes.
if you don't feel comcomfortable, we can reseat you. You
Yeah.
don't have to sit here. She's like, no, I just take this seriously. I want to make sure.
Aw, poor
And I'm
thing.
sitting in my seat going, lady, if they can get this thing on the ground in an emergency, and we're still alive, I will open both doors for us, and I'll take care of helping everyone out.
Poor thing.
So,
we kind of take it for granted. We fly a lot, but there's a lot of people out there that have never been on an airplane, and it's probably so. I read somewhere the stress level for some people that come to an airport and fly, and this sounds crazy, but I saw it in some sort of documentary that they consider going into the battlefield. Like that.
I would
that level of stress.
feel really bad for foreigners who don't read English or any of the other languages that are like Spanish. Maybe is usually a secondary language in a lot of airports, because like in Europe, there's it's always in English. Everything you can find in English. So for us, it's not a big deal. But I can't imagine speaking a language where you don't understand anything. I can see that being really intimidating.
Sure.
Especially at a big international airport,
Yep.
about how to transfer from one terminal to another. just thinking about that starts to get me stressed out when we're trying to find
Yet
places.
you still don't get to the airport early.
Yeah, well, here's why I'm never stressed for the airport is I always aim to get there at least 2 hours ahead of time.
You do.
I'm always good.
Damon is always there before all of us.
Not like Jim Hemming, 3 hours.
Oh, Jim.
Yeah, 3 is a little bit much. But.
Jim, I think sleeps there overnight for the flight the next morning.
So, anyways, I get down there, and I actually stayed in 3 hotels.
Wow, 3 hotels.
So I fly down there. I want to get there on Thursday morning, and so I realized that if I got to take the earliest flight out, I won't get there until noon probably. So I said, well, I'll go the night before, stay at a hotel near Orlando Airport, and shoot down in the morning. And I rented a Jeep Gladiator.
Gladiator.
Wow.
What's a Gladiator?
Which is the pickup truck version.
Oh, the
the
pickup
four-door
version.
Wrangler.
Oh, that's perfect for the green zone.
I didn't go in a green zone. But it was perfect for media team parking, also known as a field that I never knew existed at Sebring, which is called the Ullman Straight parking, they call it, because on the back straight there's this field that I swear to God I never knew that's where they park cars, and you needed an off-road vehicle.
Really?
Yes, you know the divots at Monterey and the upper parking lot?
Yeah.
They look like nothing compared to the divots.
Oh, yikes.
And it looked like Burning Man because there was dust all over the place from people.
Oh.
Yeah, so the Jeep was perfect for it. It got with a 6-cylinder, I think 3-liter 6-cylinder, 15 miles per gallon it averaged.
Oh, wow. But for a truck like that, that's, I mean...
I was like, wow. So I was reading a review on it just to see, because I've never driven a Jeep like that.
Is that like a modern day Comanche?
No.
Like
no.
It's huge.
It's more like a Wrangler.
Yeah.
But it's the pickup truck. The
pickup version.
The pickup part of it's really useless because I think it's like a 5-foot
So
bed,
it's
maybe.
so it's like a Jeep Wrangler, but with a pickup portion.
Four-door
I would say.
Wrangler.
Okay.
It doesn't... I wouldn't relate it to a Comanche.
I mean,
Okay.
I like the styling because I like companies that keep, the styling the
Right.
same, the retro look, and
Yeah.
I do like that. But some of the things don't translate well, like the window switches were in the center console. You always reach for the door,
Right.
So you had to get used to looking down and putting your finger in the middle to. The screen was very small, but it served its purpose. I wanted to see what it was like to drive that Jeep. So I stay close to the airport the first night, then I drive down, get down there just in time to sit in the car for an hour to listen to the Rensport conference call, which I said, well, I'm 5 minutes from this call starting. I might as well just wait a little longer. Went to get my my credentials, media credentials, and it's the first time ever I've gotten credentials without them giving a lanyard.
Huh?
Yeah, they give you the card with the hole for the lanyard, and I said, do you have any lanyards? They're just like, no, we don't have any here. They may have them somewhere else, so I got in the car, and I drive to media parking, then you got to take a shuttle from media parking. It's like a tram, like in Disney World, they pulled by a pickup truck. They'd take you to the paddock. So I got there, went to the media building. The media building is, I would say, holds easily 300 people.
Oh, that's bigger than I thought.
Yes, but this is where my mistake was.
Yeah.
I should have gotten there Wednesday morning because if you, it's a first come, first serve for your spot in the media room.
Oh, you stake out your
They take a piece of tape and they put, your name on it. And I was Johnny come lately by the time I showed up.
So you're in the back of the room.
So no, I'm not even in the back of the room.
Oh.
I'm in the auxiliary room.
Oh.
So there's a photo on YouTube of the main room.
Oh.
And against the wall they have all these screens.
Yeah.
There's a little side room that has 2 little screens that holds about maybe 80 people.
Yeah.
And so I was able to get space there. But the good thing was they actually had internet that worked because with AT&T it was terrible at Sebring. So outside of that building, you had no reception, no internet access, nothing. So I managed to find a spot, to download information, talk with other journalists. And then I walked over to the PCA tent because I figured, well, they always have lanyards, either PCA lanyards or Porsche.
The Porsche Plots tent, yeah.
Nothing. They have nothing
Huh?
over there. So now I'm worried about I'm going to lose my little credential card. So I back over, and I actually had to break down and buy a lanyard for $8.
Oh, wow.
I haven't bought a lanyard.
You don't
in
have a
30
lanyard in
years.
your bag, like an extra one?
I don't keep.
Well, if
I
you'd
don't-
known that they weren't gonna provide one, right?
Yeah.
I got like
That
1,000.
that is weird because usually wherever you go, people throw lanyards at
They
you.
must
right?
be cutting some costs.
And so then when I got back, Kathy Lee says, "Oh, here's your stuff for it." And it was a hospitality pass. And
Which
that
had
had
a
a
lanyard.
lanyard.
See?
And then it
You
was
did-
something else. And
Yeah.
she goes, "Oh, and I found this. I heard you're looking for a lanyard." I'm like, "Oh, man. I'm $8 in the hole, but thanks anyway." And Kathy was very nice to get me a Porsche hospitality pass, which was very nice to have because the Porsche hospitality is on the third level of the pit row. And most of all, it's inside and they have great food. The media center had food too.
But were you able actually to get a piece of that food? Because I hear it's like piranhas like going after.
Yes, it is. And when the food comes out, it's like a mad rush, like they haven't eaten in 3 days.
That's funny.
It's free.
And yes, it's free. And that's not Sebring.
Yeah.
That was the LA Auto Show the same way.
Oh yeah.
And that poor woman came with the cart with food.
Oh,
It
my
was
gosh.
Like,
Get
everyone's
attacked.
looking at each other to see who's going to make the mad rush to the front to get the food.
So funny.
And everyone's stuffing. They must have gotten all the food at Wawa because they had about 100 pretzels. You know, soft pretzels you buy at Wawa.
Yeah.
And people are stuffing those in their pocket. And
What? Oh my god.
They had like 100 gallons of coffee, and that was like gone super quick.
That's crazy.
But I went over to the PCA tent. Now, if you are thinking about coming to a IMSA event, look up to see if there's a Porsche Platz because they're not at all of them, but they are a great member benefit. Porsche,
it's a great home base, right?
yes, and Porsche did a great job of. If you don't have to have a car parked there to be able to come in, as long as you're a Porsche owner or a club member. So they're asking either for a car key with Porsche car key or your membership card.
Yep.
So a lot of people either had their hard membership card or they went online and they were showing, I guess, a screenshot where they were a member.
And they're usually Porsche Platzes, but at Daytona, it's the PCA Corral, not
Yeah.
the Porsche Platz. And I
Right.
think there's one other race. But
So,
PCA
yeah.
Corral or Porsche Platz?
Yeah,
is what you're
so
looking
just
for.
to be clear, when it's a Porsche Platz, it's actually, the bulk of that is because Porsche paid for all of that, right? And when it's a Corral, that's when Porsche was not able to make an investment to have a presence there. So PCA is actually the one that invests for the presence there. So that's a difference. But the experience is the same. It's
Yeah,
basically
exactly.
tent, a home base, presentations, water, snacks, a good way to when you walk the track or whatever, and you just want to come back and take a load off and relax.
Yep.
Oh, and also the parking.
Well, the park, and it's only for Porsche
Yeah.
only, no matter what. The only non-Porsche in there was that in the afternoon, security guard showed up, and we let him park his car in there because he had to watch the whole place until the morning.
Yeah.
But we had, actually, it was the same person with the 500E Mercedes.
I was gonna say, are we gonna go there?
Yeah. Well, and Porsche explained to him that this is a Porsche event.
Right.
They run it, and that they only want Porsche. That's
Yeah.
all. It's
Well,
gotta be
here's the thing.
branded Porsche.
Here's the thing is, and I love me a 500E. Don't get me wrong, and I know the history of the 500E probably better than most owners. I also love my V-Rod. I also love the Audi RS2. I love all these collaborations Porsche has done in the past. But if you're going to a Porsche only event, make it easier on yourself and bring the car where on the title it says that it is a Porsche. Because again, it's not that we or whoever the event organizer doesn't like your collaboration vehicle. It's just the expectation of a Porsche only parking corral should just have Porsches, right?
Yep.
And some people get so bent out of shape when we don't, allow them to park. And trust me, if there's an opportunity that there's like a side lot or something like that, sometimes they can make accommodations, but just, make it easier for yourself and bring a car that's actually a Porsche.
Bring the car that got you into the club. Something
Yeah,
like that, right?
exactly. And again, no hate on any of those because I love all those cars.
And just because some events that PCA runs, We do make allowances. It works.
Yeah,
we
we
would
We
let,
try to, but we can't guarantee it.
I saw a 500, a really awesome 500E. It works with a group of
Well,
other cars.
that's the reason why we bring this up, because that was, I wouldn't say it was an issue, but for volunteers that are following very strict instructions of Porsche only parking, and
Makes it tougher for them.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden you got to have like this side conversation with someone that doesn't know about a 500E, blah 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 blah. So again, if we can make accommodations, please talk about it ahead of time and not during the middle of the show. I mean, it's not a good experience for anyone.
So the plots was, I looked around and I realized that I was the only male either getting in the way or helping them out at one point. But it was run by, and I got to give a shout out to Lynn Friedman,
Miss Lynn, of course,
and Leslie,
and Leslie
Sikorsky.
Sikorsky, yep. There they are.
Yep. They did Daytona, and Leslie's the Zone 12 rep, which is Florida, and Lynn is the Porsche Plots hospitality tent coordinator, and they do an incredible, I can't say it enough, job. They work so hard.
Wasn't Lynn the enthusiast of the year?
It might have been,
I think,
or she got the Zone Rep Award.
Zone Rep Award. Yeah.
She actually, they both shared a camper, so they could be close by.
And if you want to know how hard they work, how much of the race did they see?
They had no idea what was going on.
Exactly.
Whenever I would stop by, I would give them updates on what was going on.
They don't even get a chance to watch.
They are constantly making sure that there's enough water, that they're vacuuming the floors to make sure that it's presentable. The whole 9 yards, stuff that the tent doesn't happen by itself.
Yeah.
And from Porsche, we had Kathy Lee, HP Haley, and even Allison, who is I guess Tamara's assistant.
Oh,
they sent her over to help out too. But it was all women running it.
Nice.
So kudos. Like I said, I think I was getting in the way.
You probably were.
So what I got to do, they asked me to do, which was kind of fun, was Kathy Lee asked me to interview Volker Holzmeyer, the president of
Porsche Motorsport.
Motorsports North America, and he was really funny. We had a great time.
He's a great guy.
Talking about the upcoming race, and so while I'm interviewing Volker, they're doing qualifying for IMSA, and the 963 that Robert's showing on the screen right now goes into the wall as we're talking.
Oh man!
And you hear everybody like scream, and we like turn around because the screens are behind us.
Yeah,
and we look, and I think somebody said he turned white at that moment.
Of course.
Oh, I bet.
And I was like,
it's going to be a long night for
We're going to wrap up this interview because I think you got to go somewhere right now to figure out what's going to go on.
Oh man!
They did get the car fixed in time for the next day to run, but that pushed us, I think, down to 7th place for qualifying.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was like, I've never had that happen interviewing someone.
And, that looks so
have the car that they're in charge of.
That's turn one.
There was a lot of cars going off turn one.
Yep.
So, anyway, so if you go to a IMSA race, look to see if there's a Porsche Plots or a PCA hospitality. It really enhances the experience. Get to hang around with PCA members, Porsche enthusiasts. A lot of places do parade laps, and it's all free. You have to pay. You have to pay to park in the corral, and those tickets tend to sell out very quickly. But if you just flew in or you drove your non-Porsche, you can still walk in and hang out, and they have some neat giveaways, soda, water, and so on. All right, so on to the race. So they called it Super Sebring because the WEC, the World Endurance Challenge, and IMSA both race. IMSA is North America, WEC is worldwide.
Worldwide, yeah.
The only time they race in the U.S. is this race. They used to race at COTA, but now it's Sebring. And they even talked that they may not come back next year because they essentially feel like they're second fiddle because the main race is Saturday, and that's when everybody shows up. And I gotta put some of the blame on the WEC because I think they do a really poor job of marketing themselves in the U.S. A perfect example was Formula One was in this position 6 years ago, before Drive to Survive came.
Right.
A lot of people couldn't tell you the difference between Formula One and IndyCar. It looked the same.
Right.
And this is the problem that the WEC has, is that people really don't understand. Not everyone going to Sebring are diehard fans. they're casual fans. It's in their area. They want to come hang out, see race cars. But there was a lot of fans I spoke to were really confused as to who raced in the WEC.
So how do they do that? If you were given that responsibility, I mean,
First of all, I think they got to broadcast the race on TV on one of the major networks. Not, I think Jim Hemmick had to
you had
pay
to subscribe to something.
It
right?
was not a cheap subscription.
Yeah,
it was expensive,
like pay-per-view.
Yeah, exactly. It was. They don't make it easy, and I think they almost expect, because they're so popular around the world, that Americans are going to embrace them. And it's just not happening. Yeah. And like I said, it's very confusing. Maybe next year they'll join forces and all the cars will race together in one race, and they won't have to worry about explaining what WEC is. But at least for now, it's very, very confusing. And I even hear on other podcasts that aren't motorsport specific, they are really confused as to what WEC is and what IMSA is and what teams are. And when you go into the paddock, it's really telling, and I gave Robert some pictures, but it really doesn't give you due justification. So you go into the IMSA paddock, and it looks like a typical IMSA paddock. I think there's a shot there of the IMSA paddock. All the teams have their numbers and their flags, and as you walk down, Penske has their 2 cars that are running in IMSA, so it's all IMSA cars that are running. And as you start walking down, you see this sign that said 1,000 miles of Bahrain, I think. And it literally feels like you walked into a different country. Because suddenly, that's the watching area of the WEC.
Oh, that looks nice.
All the garages change.
Yep.
They have tents, but inside the tents, you can see they almost look like F1 type garages.
Wow.
I was like, wow.
And I do have to say, you did just say 1,000 miles of Bahrain.
Well, there was
Sebring,
another,
though, is what
no,
you meant.
there was another picture.
was another
They're
picture?
advertising 1,000 miles of Bahrain.
Wow.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's,
Which that makes
maybe I didn't give it to Robert.
it's a little confusing.
Yeah, that's that's the viewing screen they had. And they had
I
couches and whatnot. Of course, teams like Peugeot, and on the ground, see those stars?
Yeah.
At the WC, they had all the teams, kind of like the Hollywood Walk of Fame.
Wow.
But they had all the drivers had their own stars on the
That's
on
a
the
significant
ground.
investment for someone that doesn't know, or for people not to know about that's going on.
Yeah, I thought it was a nice touch.
Right.
It was just so, to me, much more organized and marketed better than what IMSA had. They also had these little trailers. They looked like construction, like supervisor trailers.
Yeah.
They were all the same color, all like a beige. And they must have been 300 of them. And there was one for the WEC registration office, one for WEC steward, one for every team had them.
Wow.
I guess the drivers could change clothes in there if they wanted. That's the Ferrari garage. It was very remind me of Formula One type of.
So that
setup.
looks really nice and clean, but I almost wonder if American racing enthusiasts kind of appreciate the grittiness and the transparency that you might see walking around an IMSA pit compared to WEC.
It's the same access you have at the IMSA, because IMSA is not letting people walk into the garages.
Yeah.
They also have barriers to prevent you, but
This is very F1 like.
yes, it's just the setup and whatnot looked much more impressive than the IMSA did. And for someone who's a first timer, hard time probably telling the difference. But having been to hundreds of these, I can tell you I was very impressed.
So IMSA's one was like where you normally see where it's a tractor trailer and they pull out a canopy and then they're working out underneath it.
Yeah, and some of them had like the garages like this, look, that's the IMSA setup for FAF.
Yeah.
And they gave WC they gave them a whole different pit lane. So the pit lane was on the back straight. So you entered through turn 16, which is the turn that leads you on the back straight. Before the entry into 16, you enter the pit lane. So they had a completely different pit lane than what IMSA used, which is the traditional front straight pit lane. But and the sad thing was, because they were in the so far corner of this paddock, that everyone I spoke to, no one had been over to the WEC paddock.
Oh man, what a shame!
And I was like, you got to get there before they leave. I said, it's really impressive. I said, but you got to keep on walking, because they're going to walk for the IMSA paddock first, and then you run into the WEC. But it's almost everyone I spoke to, none of them had been over. And I explained there's 2 Penske teams. there's the IMSA team,
Right.
and you keep on walking, go into WEC land,
Yeah.
and you're going to see another Penske team, and that's the WEC team. Now the cars are identical, but they're not the same cars. There's 4 cars total that are running. They just happen to look. That's the WEC 963 driver getting out. It was 2 different teams completely that. It was the only time we saw them.
No, access
together.
is pretty good and not a huge crowd. Like, you're pretty close in these photos.
Yeah, and these are nothing special. This is what any spectator got, and it's equivalent to like what you see in an IMSA race. Yeah, you can. And if the workers aren't busy, they'll be happy to come chat with you and answer any questions.
Very cool.
Yeah, it's obviously much better access than you see at F1. And you got to hear the cars when they came out of the garages or they came back in from the pits. So WC ran on Friday. They did practice on Thursday along with AMSA, and then on Friday, Thursday they did qualifying. And to everyone's surprise, because the big talk was that Toyota was just going to dominate because they've been doing this for a while now. But everyone's surprised Ferrari took the pole, which was a little bit depressing as a Porsche fan, that we have all this testing under our belt, and then Ferrari shows up and gets the pole.
Yeah.
It said a lot about this whole hypercar class, because the Ferrari is running a different, it's in the hyper class like the Porsche is, but it's not an LMDH car, so it doesn't use the like a generic hybrid system.
They're not spec cars, which
No,
is what the
exactly.
LMDHs are, except for the engine and powertrain.
And they're all-wheel drive.
Yep.
So it almost makes you wonder if Porsche, at least for WC, chose it. Maybe they didn't make the best decision for the platform. Maybe they should have done their own. Still too early to pass judgment. They've only done 2 races. This is the first WEC race that they've done. But yeah, that was a big surprise to everyone. That it was close. It wasn't like they smoked Toyota, but they did take a pole, which has been a long time in sports car racing, top tier sports car racing. But when the other person that took the pole was this all-female team called the Iron Dames.
This is which class? GTD?
GTE AM,
GTA
which is
EAM.
the land of the 991 RSR. Last year, we see the RSR run.
So the difference is in WEC, they're still running the RSR mid-engine, and it's GTE. And in IMSA, those cars would be GTD now.
GTD, and they're 992 GT3Rs,
Okay.
which is the rear engine. This is further confuse the crap out of people because they look like
I'm confused.
Yeah.
They look like the
That's a
same
lot.
cars.
Yeah, they look like the same car.
Yeah, even I had to double check that I was correct when I was.
Yep.
So the Iron Dames unfortunately got pole position, and during the race, early in the race, they went off and damaged their bodywork, and it was an extensive pit stop, and that everyone was rooting for this all-female team in the pink car, because I mean it would be so cool to have a all-female team win.
That's the
Sebring.
diffuser, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
Diffuser in the back.
yeah, that was unfortunately. These cars are so low to the ground. They're to a certain degree really delicate.
Yeah.
So a simple off
Sure.
can be catastrophic. And these cars now run so tight lap times that something that doesn't seem like a big deal can cost you a podium position.
From first to last, easily.
So they ran on Friday for, like I said, 8 hours. They didn't reach the 1,000 miles. First time Ferrari pitted, they lost the lead and never regained it. And Toyota took over. And this is where it became kind of boring because Toyota just ran away. And at one point, I think they were close to 2 laps ahead of the next car. And it became just watching the cars go around in a circle.
Yeah.
The lower tier cars, the Ferrari and the Cadillac and the Porsche, were doing their own race for third place, and that was kind of exciting because they were changing the third place lead with pit stops, but because of some issue they had, like one was the steering wheel that wasn't functioning, small stuff for reliability, they had extended pit stops, so Porsche fell out of contention and didn't finish anywhere near we were hoping. I think they had the pace, not counting the Toyotas. But WC definitely has some work to do in getting the classes or the cars better balance of performance. So
It's worth noting this was the first WC race of the season and the second IMSA race. So we'd already seen they probably made some adjustments to the BOP, I'm guessing, for IMSA, but this is like a discovery period.
IMSA did it with the 911s.
911s, but not the...
Remember at Daytona, the 911s, it was some teams already pulled out before Sebring, so they said we're not going to waste our money because we're not even close to competitive.
Yeah.
And I think IMSA was afraid of losing more people.
Yeah.
So they they gave it the enlarged restrictor plate, and I think changed the weight a little bit, and that made a big difference for the competitiveness in IMSA. But like you said, this is the first race for WEC. So from what I was told, Porsche executives were already meeting with the FIA at Sebring to discuss their not displeasure, but they want to see the series succeed, and they're in it for the long term. So I would imagine we'll see some kind of adjustment made against the Toyotas because no fan wants to see a race where the leader's 2 laps ahead.
Yeah.
Unless it's Porsche, then it's okay.
Yeah, right. Well, that's, I mean, back in the golden era, quote unquote, with the 917s, right? They were win by laps, not seconds, you know?
Yeah. I mean, like it or not, and I know people in forums will complain that, IMSA does a lot of extended full course yellows, the BOP and whatnot, but it is entertainment. When it comes down to it, that's what puts the fans in the seats, and that's where the money comes from. If you want to see basically no politics, no full course yellows because of TV, go to a club race.
Yeah.
You watch amateur racing, that's you're going to see the rawest type of racing there is. But until then, if you want to see pro racing, this is just part of life of pro racing. Just like you have pay-to-drive drivers, you have sanctioning bodies that realize this is entertainment. And so for WEC, Toyota wins 1-2. Porsche finished 5th and 6th. The RSR, Dempsey Proton RSR came back and they finished 2nd. And they actually lost one of their cars during practice on Thursday or Wednesday, I think. And they couldn't. They didn't have an extra tub, so they only could enter one car in the race. So kudos to them for taking a podium with only one car on the team. But they were both a lap behind the Corvette. So once again,
I wonder how Porsche is going to be handling that with the WEC this year, the final year of the RSR, I believe. Because the RSRs are old cars now, like 3 or 4 years old. I wonder if Porsche's even making chassis or has like a store of them, or are they running out?
The Proton said they had their extra chassis was in Europe and they weren't going to fly it in.
I see.
So I'm sure they still will be making the chassis at least.
Yeah. How cool would it be? Pie in the sky right here. How cool would it be to get one of those mid-engine RSRs and then turn it into a street car? That would be so cool.
Maybe we can talk to Sonderwunsch and
Yeah,
tell them
right?
your special wishes.
Yeah,
Or it could be the next PCA project car.
there you
Next
go.
PCA Classic Club Coupe.
Once we sell that classic Club Coupe for $2 million.
Yeah. Keep dreaming.
So on Saturday we had the 12 hours of Sebring, and that was the big race. You could tell so many more people showed up for that just by the Porsche plots parking. On Friday it was about maybe 60% filled. Saturday it was packed. Yeah, and I got to say once again, kudos to the Porsche folks, because next to us was the Cadillac Corral. I got to say it was kind of sad. 12 cars.
Oh
man,
It looked like the Hertz rental car parking lot.
Oh.
It was, and the funny part was there was always this Suburban with the guy in it, like blocking the entrance just in case some rogue Cadillac try to get in. I was really hoping that some guy would show up in like a 75 Coupe de Ville to park there, because that would have been, he would have gotten the most looks out of anybody.
Right.
But they were all late model Cadillacs.
He wasn't trying to keep people out. He was trying to keep them in.
Maybe. So I don't think they did a parade lap. I never saw them come out, but I thought it was funny comparing.
Did they have a lot of parking space?
They had about 1/4 that we did.
Okay.
And they still had plenty of room left. So it wasn't like they were busting at the seams. And Corvette was next to us. So really the only corrals that I saw was Corvette, Porsche, and then the little Cadillac one.
BMW and I think like at Laguna Seca Mazda, they all have good corrals, but I've never seen an awesome corral when it comes to other makes.
No, and
Corvette sometimes.
Yeah, Corvette.
Depending on where.
That's what I was joking with some Porsche executives. I said, look out in this field and show me where the Toyota
Right.
Corral is. Where's all these
Right.
proud Camry owners? I
Right.
said, Damon would have
I
been
know.
down
I
there.
would have been there.
So for IMSA, the Cadillacs took the first and second place, the front row, followed by the Acura. Porsche qualified fourth, and because of the accident where he went to the wall, seventh place. So we were hoping for a lot because in GTT Pro, which is the other place where Porsches were running, FAF qualified. I think it was seventh. The number 9 plaid car, which was interesting because I was told someone from Porsche that since they've started selling merchandise, I don't know if I got this number right, but it was almost like 10 times more volume they've sold this year than like 3 years ago when they started selling merchandise
Because of
with
plaid.
the plaid. Yeah,
Yeah,
So
for
it's
sure.
like it's like I went by their retail booth, and it seemed to be always packed.
Yeah.
That people love
for
the.
them.
That's why I told Bogdan that he should do a Men in Plaid using the Men in Black.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he understood that
Yeah.
FAF was plaid.
Right,
And I said
right.
it's pretty funny when you think Men in Plaid, not Men in Black. I'm going to have to explain it to him a little further. So in the land of GTD, and there's a lot of makes and models. There's Lexus with the RCF GT3. Is there a street model called an RCF?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
I never.
They've reviewed well, but it's not something you'd probably take to a track. They're kind of big.
I think my
they're very
neighbor
heavy.
has a convertible version of.
My uncle has a.
They handle
blue coupe.
well, but man, I would
It's
not want to buy
fast.
tires for that. for
It's
the long
fast,
haul.
but it's like
Yeah.
it's like a fast couch.
Yeah, exactly.
So they had the Mercedes AMG, the what was it? The Acura NSX. So it's a nice mix of cars. So when that race started, they also have on both races they do a grid walk. So like an hour before the race, they let the fans onto the track. And if you did this at Daytona, it just felt like a stark difference because I felt like I was going into a sausage grinder. It was so tight. And you couldn't
Funneling
see anything.
everybody through.
I mean, it was like, and once you got into the pit lane, you weren't getting out till you came out on the other side.
end.
There was like no side exits. At least Daytona has the grass, and people walk up to the
Right.
track on the banking, and you can spread out more. But at Sebring, it was a pit wall, and then the inside pit wall where the teams are, and you weren't going anywhere. So I was about 20 feet in when I realized I made a big mistake. I should have never got into here. So I was in there for 30 minutes, slowly shuffling as I was trying to make myself out back on the other side. But if you want to walk pit lane, I would get there early before the masses all congregate into the lane and you can't see anything. But both sanctioning bodies do offer that as a nice perk. So the IMSA race right from the get-go was seemed to be a lot more exciting than WEC. A lot more passing. There's a ton of full course yellows. People spinning, hitting things, which would bunch up the field. They would let I'm not even going to try to explain it, but they basically let the people who are down a lap, I think, catch up a lap. When there's a full course yellow, so you see a lot of cars passing, like the pace car.
Oh, really?
And they're
So they
directed-
can gain laps, not position, but they can gain laps.
So
Yes.
that the classes are bunched up
Yeah.
together rather than.
Which is why I think it was at some point GTD and GTT Pro, which use the same exact car, same exact cars. The difference is the drivers. And the funny thing, there's a lot of pro drivers running in GTD, which is supposed to be not for pro drivers.
Or a mix of pro and amateur, right?
Well, it's a formula they use, and it's funny because it's like if you're a pro but you haven't raced so many races, then you get downgraded to like a bronze driver or silver driver.
Yeah.
Then you qualify for a lower class. Mike Levitas explained it to me one time because he said he was like sitting out a couple races so he could go in as a bronze driver, even though he had won the 24 Hours of Daytona prior.
Right.
So it's so anyways, the GTT class at one point was leading, I think, the GTT Pro.
Oh, wow.
So it's, but it wasn't really like Damon said. It wasn't all amateurs. It was a mixture
Right.
of very good pro drivers and amateur drivers. But there was a lot of good racing going on, especially if you watched it on TV. And Porsche was in contention the whole race, so that made me happy because after Daytona, it was a little bit depressing about what the season was going to look like. And I think they still have some things to work on, but I think they found their pace, and both the 911s and the 963s. To the point where at one point I was in Porsche hospitality. I think Kathy Lee and I were having a bite to eat, and the head of the 963 program came up, and we were again chatting with Volker, and Volker said something to him like, "You look like you're in a pretty good mood," and he just smiled.
Yeah.
And of course that was before the 20-minute mark.
The 20-minute mark, yeah.
So I said, well, I'm going to watch this finish at the end because at the time they were running third, but it was within the lead lap, within seconds off the leader. So this is going to be a really good race. And you could see the lead changes changing with pit stops and
Wasn't a Porsche 963 in first and third?
Oh, at the
When the
end,
crash
yeah,
happened?
right before the crash, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
In fact, at that point, I said, well, we won this race. We got this race won because
So
we
you're
got two
the
cars.
reason.
We got
You
two
said
cars
it.
in the hunt, and this was some aggressive racing going on.
Yeah.
And the Wayne Taylor racing car was in second place, and they came around one. And the Wayne Taylor car tried to get by, and
On
the
the left
Porsche
side.
squeezed them onto the grass.
Do you think he squeezed him, or you just didn't see him
I
there?
don't think he saw him.
I don't think he saw
And
him.
if you look from the top down, so when I was reading your article, in Tech Tips yesterday, so you look from the top down. So at first it almost looks like, man, that guy, the third place car, the Acura, came
Yeah.
out of nowhere, and how could he have known he was there?
I think the
So,
car in front of him was just
This is
going
where
wide to set up.
This is where I disagree. Because all the years I raced, you knew exactly where everyone was. You knew who was near you, who was behind you. And if you don't see that person's somewhere. That person didn't just magically disappear off the map.
Yeah.
I think he was trying to protect his line.
Yeah.
And he figured that when he pushed him into the grass,
He'll
he
slow
would
down.
lift.
He would lift, yeah.
And slow down, not stay on the gas and try to get grip on the grass.
That's a good point.
And the other thing was after the race, Gemini, who was the one who, if you will, squeezed him, said it was just a racing incident.
Yeah.
Now, if it wasn't a racing incident, I would be pretty torqued that that he took me out like this.
What do you
And
mean? What do you mean when he says he's
He wasn't mad at the Wayne Taylor Racing. It was in Albuquerque, I think was the driver's name. He wasn't mad at him. He said it's just a racing incident.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
So I mean, coming back to that, it's really easy to see how he could, because that Acura was way to the right, and the 963 was behind two cars, slower cars, and was trying to get by them as well.
Yeah.
So I could easily see he sees an opening. This guy has already crossed all the way over, and as he tries to go around, he squeezes the other guy off. Like that. When I look at that, that's what I see.
I see someone who reacted late.
Yeah.
Gemini saw that the Albuquerque was making the move already.
Yeah.
And said, I'm going to shut the door on him.
Yeah.
And so
We'll never know,
Is it a
for
racing
sure.
incident?
Yeah.
Could be. I mean, that happens in racing. No one got fined.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, when he came back, he basically picked up the 710 split and took out both Porsches. And it was so dark, and we were watching on the TVs, and no one could make.
You didn't know what was what.
And the funny thing was, behind us, there was a bunch of fans in their pickup trucks, and they happened to be looking through the tent, watching our screen.
Yeah.
And it was about 30 of them, jumped out of their pickup trucks and ran to the edge of the tent
Till-
to get a better look. And they're like, "What's happening?" We're like, "We're trying to figure out what car is, because it's so dark. You could barely make out. It's like one of the darkest part of the track."
Wow.
And then, unfortunately, we got news that both Porsches were hit.
Oh, man.
And the Cadillac and the BMW went by, and the rest is history. So, it was a huge bummer that the 963 didn't get its first win at Sebring or anywhere. But I'm very hopeful now that they found their pace and they got the reliability.
They got a podium at least.
Yeah, they got their first podium. And I think the first win is not too far behind. But the good news was the men in plaid got first place in GTD Pro. So that was awesome. That was Patrick Pillay led the team to the checkered flag, and
not only congratulations to them, but congratulations to Jim Hemmig, because in our little work chat, we were wondering, like, can they put that car back together quick enough and be competitive? And Jim had 100% faith. He's like, they will do
unfortunately,
that.
since I had no internet except the media, I wanted to send you guys photos at the garage that they're almost done.
Oh, really?
And this was the day before. I'm
Wow.
At 4:00, I'm like, yeah, they're going to be done.
That's amazing to me. Like, you see the conditions of these cars after the accident, and they have enough parts and they have the ability to put the car back to 100%.
But and the thing that really amazes me is because just think about the mess we made changing Rob's water pump. How many parts were on the ground?
Yeah.
Grease. And these guys look like they just got done surgery. Their hands are clean. Everything's on the floor is
Whole
surgical.
different level, my
When you
friend.
have purpose-built tools made exactly for that
Whole
car, for that
And
different
job.
most of all, when you know what you're doing.
Yes.
And what you know you're doing.
Talent and skill. That's
Yeah,
what has a little
some
bit
of
to
that.
do with
Yeah,
it.
it was. So it was. I'm looking forward to. I think Long Beach is the next race.
Is that the next stop?
For IMSA, and I think Portimao is the next for the WEC.
WEC.
So it'll be fun to watch. Who knows? Maybe next year they'll all be racing together in one race. But it's great seeing all these different manufacturers. In the media room, I felt like there was more WEC media than IMSA, and it felt like the United Nations. There were so
Really?
many different
Interesting.
languages being spoken, which was pretty cool.
Yep.
It was.
Did you throw out some Spanish just to kind of fit in?
Spanish and Portuguese and can be very close, and followed by Italian. So sometimes I thought I was hearing something, but then I realized nope, they're speaking Portuguese. I can only hear a little bit of it. But
They're looking at you going, the Ecuadorian press is here.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
Well, thanks for the race wrap up. Let's quickly. Wow, time has gone by, but we want to do a quick review on some things that have dropped recently. Works Reunion Walk Around that dropped recently, and the podcast we talked about. Damon, anything else?
Yeah, I'm working on this bore scoring series. Crossing my fingers that by next week, which would be the week of the 27th, it'll be finished. But it's going to be tight. But look for that soon. I've just watched all the way through all 4 videos, starting the edit, and really look forward to that. If you have any questions about bore scoring, how it happens, what you can do to slow the onset or prevent it or fix it, any sort of question, Vu asks in this video, and some experts answer. And much like our IMS bearing series with Jake Raby and Charles Navarro several years ago, this should be a pretty definitive guide on bore scoring. So very, very excited for that.
Looking forward to it.
We have a 1 mile review coming out this Saturday. So by the time you hear this podcast, it will be out, and that'll be a 981 GT4 versus a 718 GT4. So very, very similar cars. There are some differences. If you want to know what they are and how I scored them, tune into our YouTube this Saturday.
Very good.
Yep.
So upcoming. So by the time you hear this, April 5th, we have a very, very special Tech Tactics Live, which I am crushed that I'm not going to be here for it, and that is Manny,
Mr. Alvin Springer coming, who is the former president of Porsche Motorsports, kind of helped bring Porsche Motorsports to where it is today.
the man himself.
Still involved with Porsches, even has his hand in a little bit with the 963. He's coming out with a book that documents his history with Porsche, which includes working for Vasek Polek, starting Andal, and ultimately creating and heading Porsche Motorsports North America. I was bummed he wasn't at Sebring, but he told me he wasn't going to be at Sebring. But he's coming out to Columbia. He's going to be in studio, so we'll have him on the podcast, and then we'll also have him on Tech Tactics Live to talk a little bit about everything he's done. Volker was telling me that he oversees every single 962 engine that Motorsports builds, because Motorsports still supports the 962s. And he says every one that's built, he oversees and makes sure he's in the dyno room and making sure it's all checked. So if I had a 962, I would think that's
I was
pretty
about
cool,
to say, yeah.
because every 962, I think, in America had the Andal sticker on it because it was touched by Andal, and that's probably one of the reasons why they did so well.
Oh, I'm so jealous, but please take good care of him. Also, this week, actually after this, later on tonight, we'll be recording Tech Tactics Live with Prescott Kelly. Confessions of a True Porsche Hoarder.
Yeah, I'm looking
if you
forward
think
to
I'm
that.
a hoarder, and we say that with utmost love and respect, Prescott Kelly's going to share some great stories of things he's collected, of recently, things that he's been able to let go of, but then more importantly, give some tips on what you should do in terms of collecting Porsche memorabilia, toys.
And I would highly, if you're a collector, I would highly recommend watching this show and then showing it to your wife, because Prescott ended up selling a big chunk of his collection for a pretty good amount of money.
Let's just say there was a GT3 RS involved
And
afterwards.
change left over.
Lots of change left over.
Yeah, and he still has a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
It's I told him, I said, you're going to give hope to everyone who has all this stuff stashed away.
I love it when so the show hoarders.
Yeah.
I watch that just because it makes me feel better
Yeah,
that
right.
I'm not so bad.
You don't have pathways lined by old magazines?
No, I don't.
Not yet.
Not yet.
That we know of.
Not yet. So, all right. In the news, we can talk about a new headquarters from a manufacturer that's not Porsche.
No, Roof is opening a new facility in Miami. And so Roof has Roof, for those who don't understand, is its own manufacturer. It's recognized. It's unlike Singer. Singer's not a manufacturer. When you buy their cars, you're still buying a Porsche. With the Roof, it's titled as a Roof.
Exactly.
Now,
hey,
they're
listen.
recognized in Europe as a manufacturer in the U.S.
So we ran into them. They had a display at the Amelia, and lo and behold, one of the folks down there listens to our podcast. And I was sent an email. They are inviting us to come down and take a look at their new North American headquarters. So I
The one
sent
in
you
Miami?
Nice.
yeah. So I sent you guys a note about it, and hopefully we can make that happen, because that's quite cool.
Yeah.
And they do build a model. I can't remember. What's the model that they did the whole chassis themselves?
Carbon fiber. It's the new.
But it's the whole chassis is different. It's not a Porsche chassis anymore. It's their.
should
And I
know
can't
this.
remember because their letters come.
It's not the CTR3.
Here we go. It's a SCR, I think.
The new CTR. They're just
The new
calling it the
CTR.
CTR,
The
which is
CTR.
the original name of the original.
And
CTR.
it was there.
It
It was
says,
there at Amelia. It was
510 horsepower variant called SCR. And it looked like
You're talking about this yellow one.
well, they don't have a picture of it, but they had it at Amelia last year, and I didn't realize what it was until Ilko brought me over, and he said it's no longer a Porsche. They're not taking
Right.
a Porsche chassis.
You can tell by the wheelbase. I mean,
Yeah,
it's a Lincoln
it was, but it looks like a older chassis.
Yep.
So the SCR, I believe, is naturally aspirated, and then the CTR is turbocharged. So I believe they use the same chassis.
So they basically were doing stuff that Singer is just doing now. They were doing
Oh,
a
yeah.
long time ago.
And
Absolutely.
they progress to building their own chassis.
Building their own chassis.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's pretty cool.
Yep. Synthetic fuels back in the news.
Well, yeah, they've been on everyone's lips as a possible. Everyone thinks that the electric revolution is going to end now that Porsche can figure out how to make fuel out of water. Not going to happen. I think it's great as an alternative. I think it's if it can extend the life of our current ICE engines. Hey, I'm all for it. There's still a lot of questions about it, but Porsche has basically, I think, asked the European Union to relook at some of their planned policy changes and to exempt these e-fuels. And of course, the proponents are saying, or the people who are against it are saying that uses too many natural resources to make it a viable fuel resource. So,
But I thought it was the production of these e-fuels I guess the zero net effect of producing that fuel.
So like the Hara Oni plant using wind and
Yeah,
solar
yeah,
and all that.
uh-huh.
They're
Carbon
that's
neutral, right?
That's very, very small batches at this point. That's like, I think, $45-$50 per gallon.
Oh, Jesus.
and you got to
very-
transport it.
Oh,
It's in Chile.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh.
So they make it for the racing cars right now, I believe. At least, some 992 Cups, I believe,
The
use.
plan was they were going to use it for the Carrera Cup series, Super Cup and Carrera Cup, and then they were going to have them at the experience centers to fuel the cars. I don't know if they've gotten that far yet, but yeah. Anyway, so Porsche was in the news because they were basically telling the European Union, just hold tight for a second. We want you to include these fuels also as an alternative, and not to ban all fuels.
So this next one from the Porsche newsroom, and you had asked me about my birthday.
I asked you what day of the week you were born, because they're doing a special GTS 30 Years of Porsche in Thailand edition, and unlike where they did our Club Coupe and Club Lao, and they're offering because they said that people celebrate the day of the week. Am I getting that right? As their birthday, and
I'm a Wednesday.
So they're doing a different color offered. You can, depending what day of the week you were born, they have a special color. Vu and I were born on Wednesday, so that's signal green.
My
Damon
favorite
was
color is
Monday.
green. That's perfect.
Signal yellow.
Yep.
What was Robert? Did he say he was Riviera blue? Robert was Friday.
Friday.
Yep. Yeah, that's a great color.
I have to say, looking at all those cars, the only two I would I shouldn't say the three I'd consider buying would be that signal yellow, Riviera blue, or the, I think, Guards red or Carmine red.
So
those look the best
So
to
you
me.
do like yellow?
I like yellow. It depends on the car. Depends on the yellow.
Oh, that's cool.
So,
Huh? They picked
like
it right.
racing yellow is
Green's
great.
Called,
green
it's
is
called fire red. That's the red.
yeah, green's a little much. I know yellow's
Wait a
pretty
minute,
bright, but
Manny, you're also Wednesday, and green is not
Yeah, might
Can't
as well
see
be,
it.
might as well be gray.
green because you can't see green. Oh, poor thing.
yeah.
Anyways, I thought it was a pretty cool idea.
Yeah.
First time I saw it, it was a bunch of different colors on one car, and I was like, "No way, they're coming out with a car like
Yeah.
that." But no, that was like a graphic or something.
Yeah. All right, our last news item talking about a platform and the Macan EVs.
More, we talked about this last podcast about the PPE.
Yeah.
Premium platform electric, not
Yes.
protective.
It's supposed to be a game changer for Porsche, and they're going to have it on their cars, so it's hopefully going to become much more competitive range-wise with Tesla, because of course that's,
So this is a
like it or not, it's what people are looking at as range.
So this is a skateboard kind of underpinning, and then you put your body on top.
Yep. It's
Yes.
going to be, from what I think we've heard, what's rumored is the 718 is going to use that. The
Yeah.
Macan's going to use that. It's going to be underpinning two-door sports cars and SUVs.
And do
Everything
they
in between.
they share that with any of the brothers and sisters from other
Audi.
manufacturers? With Audi.
Yep.
Okay, and then they'll do their thing where they tune the software, they'll tune the suspension, they'll change
Yep.
some componentry to make it more Porsche.
And I wouldn't be surprised, depending on how it's not out of, Porsche could potentially sell this platform to more manufacturers, to use.
And
as
what
like,
kind of range are they predicting?
I don't
They
think
said-
I
Don't
saw
know,
anything about a
but
range.
603 horsepower and 737 pound-feet of torque for max output.
I think they use terms like it's going to be more competitive
Yeah.
range-wise with this new
Even if it's
platform.
even if it's 250, I'm okay with that because that amount of power, that'd be so much fun to drive.
I still say the thing that not a lot of people are discussing is at what point will a 911 no longer be a 911 when it's all electric, and obviously to me a 911 is the engine in the rear. And,
They can still keep the engine in the, or
well,
they
they're
put the
gonna
motor in the back.
Well, I mean everything's going dual motor.
Yeah, but the skateboard also, I think if they do that with the 911,
They
then
have to
they'll
put-
have to package the battery near the back as well.
Make it rear heavy.
So does that mean the Boxster and the Cayman will not really be mid-engine anymore because the motor will be sitting
If
on
they
the
use
axle?
PPE, then they won't be.
They won't be mid-engine
They won't be
anymore.
mid-engine like that.
Maybe people won't care.
True,
I mean, they
true.
could easily, surpass several generations where people won't care
Right.
that it's not the traditional engine placement.
But for a mid-engine car like a 718 to go to a skateboard platform, the mass is still in the center basically, right? So it's not a huge change. Not a huge change compared to like the 911 going electric.
Yeah.
At least
Interesting.
My opinion on that.
All right, so a couple of PCA events coming up. April 5th, we have Phase 2 of Porsche Parade. So we spoke about this last time. If you're going to Porsche Parade and you've already gone through Phase 1, Phase 2 is where you're actually choosing all of your options, so to speak, and the agenda for your week there. So read about that in advance so that the day that it opens, you're just basically going through and making your selections.
And also something else to add on to that, since I was put this into e-brake last night, on March 29th, the Phase 1 registration, which is just getting yourself into the event and getting a hotel reservation, that closes March 29th at midnight.
Okay.
And opens back up April 5th at noon Eastern time. The same time Phase 2 registration opens. So get your Phase 1 done before March 29th at midnight happens.
Okay.
So maybe I'll have on Melanie on the next podcast for a little bit to talk about some insider tips for
Oh, that's a great
registration,
idea.
because that way the next so this podcast recording comes out on the 27th. We'll record again on the 29th.
Will it be out before?
And then it would come out April 3rd, so it'll come out like 2 days
Okay,
before
that's helpful.
registration happens. And so if you're keep an eye out on the podcast if you're coming to the parade and you want to hear some insider tips on registration.
So May 25th through 28th, Manny, I think you've chosen another popular regional event.
What did I choose?
Fiesta, New Mexico.
Oh, yeah, I went to this years ago. It's a multi-event weekend. Very fun. Lot of things to do. Beautiful area. Is it in Santa Fe, New Mexico? Yep.
Roadrunner region.
Yep, they did.
Great
People
job.
from Roadrunner, really great, friendly people. If you have never done a multi-event weekend, give it a try. It's basically like mini parades is what they would call them. It's a whole weekend, nothing but Porsche stuff, and it's great for couples.
Yep. So those of you in the Northeast region, a very popular event is the Porsche only swap meet held by the Central Pennsylvania region, and that's going to be April 29th.
Yep, and I can guarantee you, Bob Gutjahr is already looking at the weather forecast this far out and sweating it, because without a doubt, it's probably predicting it's going to rain. It hasn't rained in the past.
Last year
yeah.
it was beautiful.
Yeah.
Since I've been going to Carlisle, it hasn't rained.
Oh, so
Knock
you're
on
the
wood.
reason?
Whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes.
Because I can't imagine it's going to be very pretty if it does rain. My wife will be there selling all my stuff. So, and at least all the stuff we can fit into a Suburban. And I'll be walking around trying to spend the money.
I haven't been to one in a while. Hopefully I'll be able to get to that one.
Yeah, it's if you've never been to it, even if you don't need anything, you got a brand new Porsche. It's just fun to come hang out, and there's a lot of boutique items that the dealers sell, or unauthorized Porsche clothing you can buy.
Yeah, hopefully we don't have to shut down a vendor like we did a few years ago where
They're selling the PCA stuff. We don't shut down the Porsche. That's Porsche's deal, but this guy was selling PCA stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll probably be there. I usually don't buy anything, but maybe one of these years. I always remember back when I walked by John Patrick's booth last year, and I saw a roller bearing crank. I didn't know what it was exactly, and then he told me. And I'm thinking, whoa, this is a really rare crankshaft. I was holding it and everything, knowing it's expensive. But oh my gosh, it's more expensive than I probably realized.
I thought you were going to say broken
I was
half.
about to say, I thought
No, it fell apart. I know.
you dropped it.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh
geez.
man.
And then May
Cool
12th,
stuff like that.
May 12th through the 14th will be, we were just talking about Porsche Plazas. This will be the Porsche Plaza at Laguna Seca.
Yep, and if you're in the area or close by and you want to experience IMSA racing and seeing the 963s, that is a great place.
Oh, man,
to,
can you
do
imagine
it.
seeing them coming down the corkscrew?
That'll be phenomenal pictures. Yeah.
Oh, that's going to be
Yep.
amazing.
Maybe one of these races, though, they're going to get their first win, so
Yeah.
that'll be exciting.
All right, this I was asked to make sure to remind you all, if you haven't signed up for the PCA newsletters, such as eBrake News and Performance News and Mart Fresh News, it's all free for members. Just go ahead and go to pca.org, and you'll find the newsletters there, and you can sign up. Super easy to do. So, thanks for listening. If you aren't currently a PCA...
Really quick, I want to give a shout out to everyone who came up to me to thank us for the podcast.
Yes.
I had a lot of listeners come up and say they really enjoy, and it makes their Monday, so that made me happy that we have
I've been getting a lot of that.
more
We
listeners
love-
than just my mom.
All right.
Well, yeah, it's pretty good to hear that, because we do this out of a labor of love, and so many of you, if this makes your day, we love hearing about it, and it's great meeting people, and it's like you have this constant immediate bond with PCA people at events just because, and they know the backstory of a lot of things. And just to go back to the beginning of this podcast with Joel Bassam and the Eastern Motor Group, when I went through his collection, he was referencing things from the podcast, and so that's pretty cool. Again, thanks for listening. If you aren't currently a PCA member and own a Porsche, just grab that VIN and head over to PCA.org and we'll set you up. And if you don't have a Porsche, happy to help you find your next one through the test drive program. Remember to follow our podcast Instagram page, see behind the scenes photos, Porsche Club Insider, all one word. You can always send us a message at podcast@pca.org. And again, we love seeing the comments on YouTube. If you're watching there or if you're listening through the Apple podcast system there, please leave comments there. We read those as well. Until next time, stay safe and we'll catch you down the road.